Love is a high-risk behavior.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, High Risk for Heartbreak. I am your host, Christina, and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. For those of you who are new here, I pray you find value in at least one thing I say today. And to my old and faithful returning crew, you know just how much I appreciate you. I have to give a quick shout out. I've had 3 to 4 subscribers happen in the last week, and we have finally... Clap it up, you guys. I'm going to put a little clap track right here. We have made it to 100 subscribers. Listen, I am in the business of celebrating small victories. I know I have a very lofty goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Definitely lofty, but listen, we're 10% in. We're on the way. So I'm jazzed. Thank you guys so much for helping me get over that hump. And I look forward to being able to produce more content for you in the future. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Without further ado, let's jump into it. Am I the only one who has had a hard time keeping up with social media lately? Throughout the years, I have had these spurts of commitment, so to speak, towards keeping up my social media pages. And I do for a while, and I'm strong, and then it becomes a chore to post, and then I stop posting. And honestly, that's really where I like to live, is in the stopping of posting, and I like to just scroll and lurk. That's where I live, okay? I like to lurk, scroll, and I like to exhort others, okay? Much less of me curating content. However, I do love doing it for YouTube, interestingly enough. I don't know what the difference is for me, but this is more edifying to me. I enjoy sharing and curating content to an extent, but I think social media just has taken such an emotional and mental toll on me. And because of this, I have taken multiple breaks throughout the years, a couple of them being a couple of months to a couple of years. Now, I didn't intend for them to span that long, but there's just something about that freedom of not knowing what is going on in other people's lives unless they are in your phone. There's something about not knowing the shocking, crazy news of all the celebrities, and maybe not so much world events because I do keep up on that, but there's something freeing about that, and just living, and communicating and relating to people on a very personal level. Because of the nature of my work, being present on social media can be great for opportunity. Visibility these days via social media acts as your calling card or your business card, especially if you are your business. Everybody is not their business. Some people are selling products, some people are selling themselves. For me, being an actress, being a stunt woman, being an aerialist, I am selling myself. There are constantly people in my DMs asking me to perform at weddings and baby showers and things. So being on social media is actually really important. Posting for ads, posting for networking, posting for engagement. These are all things that are very important via social media, and they're a value add to our lives, if that's what you need it for, of course. I have definitely increased in my acquaintance networks because of social media. I met my ex-fiance through social media, and I have been able to maintain some very valuable connections from the past because of social media. And I think somewhere along the lines, for me, there's been a blurring, I think, between the business and the personal when it comes to social media. There's like business and pleasure, and it's all mixed together, and it's a little bit hard to differentiate. And what it has caused is all kinds of exposure. It's like a hodgepodge of exposure every single day. And we get everything from world events to user-generated ads in between. And sometimes I just wonder if the disorganization of these content platforms cause disorganization in our hearts and minds. And I know I'm not alone here when I say this. You have to protect yourself when it comes to social media. In the same way that it is great for networking and it's great for socialization, it can also be the reason behind increasing rates of suicide due to bullying, egregious racism, micro and macro aggressions on social media only because it won't happen in person, propaganda. I mean, we don't know where and what to believe at all. At any given time, you can take accounts from different, accounts, and it'll all be different. So it's like, what do I believe? We have extreme world events happening, including visuals of people suffering, which I think serves a purpose. But when you can't control the amount of that you're ingesting, I think it can be detrimental to your mental health. I also think there's a lot of targeted advertising. My gosh, I can just think something at this point and an ad will pop up for it. And I mean, I'm not mad at it, but sometimes I am a little bit. It also also creates this illusion of options when it comes to dating, and it creates covetousness when we see other people living lives that we might want to have, or envy. We have this overexposure to what people are doing in their lives. And now, granted, they're probably giving us a lot of their highlight reels, but there's this overexposure of storytelling, of testimony, which I think is valuable. It's always twofold, right? It's good and it's bad. But there are a lot of people saying much more than we need to be knowing on these internet streets, okay? I'm just going to say some stuff I'm like, we don't have any more decorum at all. Like, it's just say whatever you want and do whatever you want and show whatever you want. And we just have to protect ourselves when using social media. It's not all bad. But in the fullness of what social media actually is, there are positives and there are negatives. Recently, I'm not sure if it's just my algorithms, but I have become increasingly sensitive to negative leaning content. It impacts my mood, it usurps my ability to formulate my own opinions, and it makes me generally feel overwhelmed. I have curbed that, of course, by staying off the platforms that make me feel those feelings, but that's not always a feasible option for everyone, especially, like I said, if you have a business and you need to be on there. Many of us, including myself, really do benefit from being on social media and sharing. So there has to be a way to kind of navigate around becoming this landing ground, so to speak, for everything that your algorithm throws at you. Everything is not perfectly curated. It is learning. These AIs are learning how to feed you what you want to be fed. But every now and again, it throws in that thing, right? Like it's like an appetizer. Let's see if she likes this. Give me a little tapas. Let me see if she likes this or not. If she doesn't, then we move on and we try to just get more specific. However, there are things that are coming across our ears and our eyes that we did not ask for. There has to be a better way than avoiding, right, to protect our spirit and our soul from the crushing realities that are hurled at us daily through social media. I remember seeing a post last week where someone said, I don't think that we are supposed to be ingesting as much as we are on a daily basis. And when you really think about it, no. I mean, even before the internet and before television, what were people doing? They were writing letters and they were meeting at the town hall areas and the communal marketplaces. That's how people socialized. And we have gotten so far away from that and moved into this new thing. And I'm not saying the new thing is evil or it is bad. I don't think that they can inherently be evil and bad. It is what we do with it. And so that is what today's podcast is about. I want to speak briefly about protecting ourselves from the natures of social media, especially if you are healing from heartbreak or if you are single and unmarried and you are looking forward to having a healthy, fruitful relationship in the future. Social media will see to it that you have opposing opinions about the thoughts that are genuinely in your heart. So today, let's speak on this subject. Let's relate. Recently, I've been on a mission to protect my eye and ear gates from unnecessary exposure through social media. A friend of mine shared another podcast discussion, another video of people speaking about men and women, cheating, relationships, a woman's place, women being the reason for broken homes and being in their masculinity. And I'm just singling out these topics because that really was what she shared with me. But we see these topics in abundance. I'm like, when is this conversation over? It's not. We will never be over this conversation because there really isn't one singular answer. And it seems as if that's what people are looking for. But also, I care about women. Okay, I care about women. I care about women and their things. I care about how women are doing, about how women are perceived and how they are advocated for. And I believe that God loves women, contrary to what these podcasters might be saying, okay? And this is not to say that women are without responsibility or without fault in much of these relational divisions that we do see today, but we aren't solo participants. And as you would have it, man, some of these conversations are very one-sided, but that's not even what this is about. Unfortunately, much of the content that we see is very tit for tat. It's back and forth. We're talking about them, they're talking about us, but we can't ever talk together. So depending on which side that you are on in any given argument, your entire timeline can be tailored like an echo chamber. And I talked about this, I don't even know how many episodes ago, it might have been last season, about echo chambers and how we will find ourselves in these social networks that only reflect us back to us, reflecting back to us what validates our personal convictions and our opinions. And this isn't the only problem, of course. If you let this type of rhetoric play enough times, though, your entire timeline will not only be filled with that, but you will find yourself projecting in real time within your real relationships from whatever place that this content is coming from. You will begin to see the world or relationships as a hopeless place. You will begin to side with all of these traumatic stories, most of which are told for engagement anyway, and not real true validity or helping people. And then you start taking these stories on as if they are your own personal experiences. You will become the very things that you ingest. Your heart will become filled with it. And you might even begin to crave it, seeking out more content to validate others' claims, even if it's not something that you've experienced. And while all of this is going on, you would just think that, oh, it's just simple entertainment. It's harmless fun, right? Watching others live their lives in ways that we may never live. It's just harmless. But inadvertently, these seeds of maybe discontentment, of envy, of pride, of arrogance begin to settle in the crevices of your healing heart. And then you're off track because you're thinking this is what the world has to offer, and it's all that the world has to offer. Now you're fearing a future relationship that hasn't even arrived at your doorstep. Now you're doubting your ability to build that thing that God told you to build, because Miss Sister Sandra over here built it faster and then put together a program and sold it to show others how to build it before you could even get your vision casted. And now you're paralyzed by comparison and analysis paralysis. Your eyes and your ears just might be experiencing too much of what others have going on. And if you don't have the right protections in place, those boundaries, you need those boundaries for yourself. It's easy to get caught up in the raptures of curated content. Much of this is imaginary anyway, and it's extremely highlighted, but still, for some reason, we take it as truth, even those AI videos, and I just don't get it why we keep, but anyway, moving on. Last week sometime, I saw a post about 100,000 babies in Sudan losing their lives due to civil unrest and war, famine, violence of all natures. And I saw this post and instantly I began to just spiral downward. I almost couldn't even eat my food. I didn't want to eat. I was so upset. How dare I eat when others are suffering in famine? How dare I continue on living my days when others are suffering? I was just hit in the gut thinking about Sudan and other places in the world that don't even have the option to focus on simple subjects like what I'm talking about today. They're just trying to live. And I was able to calm down within that time as I was looking through the internet and reconcile with myself that it's important the type of content that I consume because it will impact the conditioning of my heart and how I go about my days. Now, this example, ultimately is a positive one because I felt that there was something that I could do about it, like donating money. And obviously, I'm still researching, you guys. If you have an organization that donates to Sudan and to Congo or any of these other countries in the world that are experiencing extreme famine and war and suffering, as we know, it's just been a lot. Please put in the comments below. I would love to check them out because I am looking to settle on one or two that I could give to. One of my favorite verses says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything that you do flows from it." That is one of my verses for this podcast. Actually, it is the singular one that I use as inspiration and guidance for this podcast because it really is about your heart. And the trueness of this, we are instructed throughout the Bible to be intentional about keeping our eyes stayed on Jesus and stayed on God's promises and remaining obedient and faithful. You can be living that out fully and still happen across something online, much like I did, or in person. And it can be tempting to you to derail from your walk with the Lord if you're not careful. It only takes one visual to become curious. It only takes one visual to become stimulated. It only takes one opinion to change yours and to start living your life from a very different attitude. One visual, one listen, one experience, and then you find yourself walking a whole new path. In a blog post, Brian Simmons comments the Hebrew word levav, I think that's how you pronounce it, and I didn't look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's not right, actually. It's the most common word for a heart. It includes our thoughts and our wits and our discernment and our affection. I always talk about the soul as the mind, will, imagination, emotion, and affection. Brian adds that although most translations have issues of life, when they say issues of life, right, out of your heart, everything that flows from it, the Hebrew says yasa, and it actually means seasons, especially springtime. So out of your heart flows the seasons of life. It is in our hearts, not in our ages or circumstances, that shape the seasons of our lives. If our hearts are tender to God, we can live in perpetual springtime. And this is beautiful. This is a beautiful example of what a guarded heart provides, a wellspring of perpetual springtime versus this kind of jerking around nature that we get from not guarding our hearts like our lives depended on it. And I have begun to notice over the years how much more deeply I enjoy life when I am disconnected from these platforms. And it's like a guard on my space. It's a guard on my mental space. And when we don't guard our mental space or our hearts while we're watching what everyone else has going on, we are going to be prone to doubt. We are going to be prone to discontentment. Doubt about our station, doubt in life, discontent in our social life. Like, who knows who? Do we know the people that we need to know to get to where we want to go? We might be prone to doubt our looks because, there's a certain trend that everyone is following with how they do their makeup and their hair and their clothing. And we will feel the need to copy and be trendy with that, to feel like part of the community. We will change our looks to mimic what others are doing and blow in the wind. And you may be doubting maybe the government around the world, which for good reason, okay? You may find yourself becoming discontent in your current relationships, friendships with your partner, and your parental or familial relationships, because someone else has it better. You might see that online, like, man, their family looks great. I didn't have that in my family. I don't have that in my friendships. You start to compare and contrast, and never is it that you are comparing and contrasting and you're becoming more content in your life. Never. It is always compare and contrast. If you don't have a strong spirit and you're not guarded in your heart, you will look at those things and try to acquire those things. There are so many polarizing things that will cause us to kind of just blow in the wind if we are not anchored to our identity in Christ and content in His will for us, which means that we can stand against any trend and any wind that blows and not be easily swayed. I'm not saying avoidance or ignorance is the fix, but I am saying that we could stand to exercise more diligence when it comes to guarding our hearts, because, all of that stuff that we see, all the things that we're exposed to, whether we willfully are exposed or not, can determine our season of contentment, or if we're going to experience joy and springtime or not. So here are 3 ways that I am currently guarding my heart while scrolling. Very, very simple 3 ways that I want to share with you. First, less social media outlets. I'm not everywhere, y'all. I'm not that outside. I have 3 social media outlets that, with the exception of YouTube, this is social media, but it's not the same thing for me. My social media outlets are IG, Facebook, and Twitter, and that limits some of the rhetoric and content that I come in contact with. And truthfully, I really only use Twitter daily. Like, I love me some Twitter. I can go without IG for a week or 2. I can definitely go without Facebook. I pretty much only get on there if I'm on my computer. It's not even on my phone. But I'm a reader and I'm a writer, so I love me some Twitter. I like to read what people are saying, and people are very funny on there, by the way. I'm not so much a photographer. I don't so much post my face and all of that stuff, so IG doesn't serve me as well, and it's very real and photo heavy, so it's more preferable for people who like that kind of thing. But lessening the amount of platforms that you have will help guard you a little bit better. Having said that, there are a lot of things that I inadvertently have been exposed to on all of these platforms. So I do have to back that up with something else. And that leads me to the second way that I'm currently guarding my heart while on social media, and that is tailoring my algorithm. I literally unfollow, mute, block, give feedback on irrelevant posts, and I seek out more positive content, curating my timeline to the less traumatizing things, okay? This is pretty simple, and maybe some of you do or don't know that you actually have control over what you see. Muting and telling the apps that you're not interested is definitely a surefire way of protecting your heart, and you will be able to get suggested posts that are a little bit more like the content that you would like to see. It's also refreshing to just go on your timeline and have a more curated experience. It's like going to your favorite grocery store. You go there because of the experience. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. So go get to blocking, sis. Get to muting. Tell them that is irrelevant to me. That has nothing to do with me. I don't want to see it. And you will be able to have a little bit better of an experience when you're on social media. And lastly, but I think most importantly, if you are reading the Word of God, if you are spending time in worship and studying the Word of God, you will be better equipped to discern if God's hand is in the things that are coming across your timeline, okay? There have been many times where God has spoken to me through other people's posts, whether they are about the Lord or not, right? And you can see that God's hand is in it because your relationship, you're like this with the Lord, right? Obviously, everything won't be perfect, and I don't think that it is even about that, but we do want to create a safer environment for ourselves when we are on social media, especially when we are in a healing phase from heartbreak. Because I'm telling you guys, it will take you down a spiraling path if you are not ready to see all the negative things that get boosted and that people say about each other. We don't want to live in a bubble though, right? We want to be able to read and watch and hear perspectives that are not our own. At least I do. I love that. I love learning from people that have very different beliefs, very different cultural backgrounds than me. I can even watch somebody that would tell me to my face that they hate me and call me all types of things, and I can glean something from that experience of watching them and learning about their behavior, etc. But that's something that I enjoy. I need to know though what others got going on. Okay, I need to know what's going on in the world. I need to know what other people think, and that helps me to be less biased as well. And it helps me to feel like I'm okay to socialize with others that are not like me. Some of you guys want to just be in a bubble and only want people around you that are like you. And I that's not my personal thing. To each their own, right? I just know that when I worship God, when I praise God, when I read my word, He fortifies me and He teaches me how to guard my heart. And He wants me to go out into those places where people are not like me, to lead them to Him. So if I can't do that, if I can't even stand to hear the voice of someone who I disagree with, it might be hard for me to evangelize. It might be hard for me to go out into the world and to share and preach the gospel and to love people genuinely. Not because they're lovable, but because I'm commanded to love them, you know? Anyway, that was a tangent. It's important to maintain my personal intimacy with God because, on those occasions that I do encounter someone, or I'm suggested someone's page that has strong views, or they have strong opinions or strong visuals. A lot of strong visuals on the internet today. That was a very weird laugh. Anyway, a lot of strong visuals on the internet today. I need to be okay. I need to not be rocked by that. I need to not be surprised that the internet houses all the things. And honestly, it might move me to make a positive contribution to change some of the things that I see that are crazy out there. So I don't want to be so quick to blow in the wind. I don't want to be easily scared away. I don't want to be easily swayed. I want to be fortified. I want to be standing on the promises. I want to be standing on the rock, the sturdy rock. I want to be anchored into my identity in Christ. So anyway, open the eyes of my heart, Lord, because I want to see you. Ultimately, that is, of course, your choice, what you get to do with your social media. But for me, I look and I'm like, Lord, where are you in this? You know what I mean? Where are you in this? It helps me just to discern and keep myself on the straight and narrow. Some things, of course, I view upon first thought, I might be caught off guard. And then all of a sudden I see the message in it. And, God works in very mysterious ways, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to go looking for the mystery in everything. We need to just use our discernment in everything. So Lord, open the eyes of my heart. And I want to see you. I want to see you in these things. Is this an opportunity to evangelize? Is it an opportunity to sit back and listen? Because sometimes it's not about all that. Sometimes you need to just listen to people. You need to hear them, hear their stories, let them share, let them get it out, let them vent, because that is healing for them as well. And it opens up their heart too. That is all for this week's episode. It is important that as we walk this single life or married life or whatever life you're in, that we have a good guard on our heart to live in that springtime and not subject ourselves to things that could be a detriment to our well-being and our testimony. There are so many other forms of guarding our heart that we can do in our singleness seasons, but social media is just a very small one. It's inconspicuous though, because it can sneak up on you, right? It will help you, especially if you're on it all the time. It'll start forming a world. So you have to just be careful because it can affect how you see yourself and what you believe about God. And so we need to guard our hearts with all due diligence. Thank you guys so much for loving yourself first so you can then go and love your neighbor. Until next time.
Why don't you stay a little longer? You like what you like, right? Subscribe to the channel so we can spend a little more time together, and maybe comment your thoughts because I care what you're thinking. Love is the risk and the reward.